loud noises. Ow. What everyone, it is September 16th, 2022. It's that special time of the week, that week where you get up your Friday beverage, sit next to that warm, cozy fire, think about your favorite memory of me, and tune in for Game Bites. How's everyone doing today? We're going to go through the week's news in the gaming space. Followed up, that we'll do some gaming itself. I don't know how long I'll go because I am under the weather, a little bit sick, took some drugs, so we'll see what happens. You know, never goes bad, right? Yeah, that's never a bad combination. I am doing well, everyone. I hope you are doing well. We're going to get into the news. A lot of crazy late-breaking things, and I say a thank you to some of the people in the community like K-Max who shared some of those things with me. But starting off in the news space, two major things are happening right now. One, a potential breakup between EVGA and NVIDIA on their partnership with graphics cards. Now, from what I understand, the president of VGA is claiming of a poor relationship with NVIDIA, among other things, citing the fact that NVIDIA would release a Founders Edition of their graphics card, which would often undercut the EVGA and other OEM partners in their attempts to get the product in the market. There's some pushback and some other conversations happening, whether if that's the main reason, potential pipeline inflation from EVGA as well as getting too many cards on the market. Either way, it just says a lot right now about gaming graphics cards. Supposedly, NVIDIA is going to be out in a week or so, talking about the next line, the 4000 line. So if you haven't spent $1,000 or more in a graphics card lately, there's time. You have more time. So that's going to be happening in a week or so, but I'm not exactly sure what that means. I'm not familiar with how long that partnership was or existed. I just know that I have an EVGA 3090 GeForce RTX on my computer, and it's great. And if I had to spend a couple $100 for the NVIDIA version, I wouldn't want to. So interesting news there. Another big shakeup in the gaming media space this yesterday. Layoffs happening at G4 TV and Tencent Fanbyte. So Tencent owns the website Fanbyte. Tencent made a big push as they're one of the most profitable companies in the world. I think they're like 14th or 13th most profitable companies in the world. Brought in some major talent, some people from Game Informer, IGN, pretty well-known, kind of funny institutions like that. Just laid off a bunch of people the other day. A couple different sources talking about it, but ultimately it seems along with the inflation and slight recession that's happening in the gaming space overall, it does appear that that's having a consequence on gaming media and how people cover games. Thankfully, I'm not paid by anyone to do this, and I just do it because I enjoy it. And frankly, I don't care what you all think. But that being said, it's sad to see anyone lose a job. People that were essentially traveling away for work, doing various work, and all of a sudden they just wake up and hear from someone else that they lost their job. As for G4 TV, G4 TV is something I grew up cherishing. I'm sure a lot of you did too. Yeah, it's nothing to make fun of. G4 TV definitely had some excitement around the coming and the return, right? I was excited for it. I think a lot of people were excited for it. I think G4 TV looked at their traditional media approach alongside with their digital approach, and they struggled to make any real market penetration in regards to the digital media consumption approach that people get their gaming news now, right? Now, what do I mean by that? Well, at a certain point, people have changed how they consume media. On top of that, people find the people they like online, they go to that location, and G4's strategy overall was one slightly different than I think what fans expected it to be, especially considering the legacy approach of what G4 TV used to be and what G4 TV is now. All that aside, major layoffs there as well, people losing jobs. So, and I think the G4 TV one, from what I heard, was kind of a surprise to a lot of people. Either way, it's a sad time to see anyone lose their jobs. I will say, poor, what's the word? Professionalship? I don't know. The internet's an interesting thing, right? You know, we want to get attention via the internet, social media, all this stuff. It's for us to get attention in so many ways. When people try to say things, it comes off poorly, and they stomp themselves in the behind, if you will. Again, I'm on Dayquil today, so I'm going to say a lot of weird things today. But my point is this. I think Frost, the person who rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, tweeted out, "I survived." Apparently, to people that didn't like her. Either way, when your coworkers just lose your job, not a good look. Not a good look. Now, again, attention matters and all that. All I'm going to say is a lot of people are not surprised that G4 hasn't succeeded. Now, it does seem that since they do get a lot of money from cable subscriptions because of their presence on traditional media still, they're still probably going to be around. But to what they look like in the future and how long they look like in the future, who the heck knows? So that's the big news in the layoffs and in the gaming card partnership. I'm curious what you guys all think. What kind of graphics card do you have? Did you get any of your information from Fanbyte? Fanbyte does seem that they are going to stay around to focus on gaming strategy guides in general. But either way, a lot of the talent there is gone. So besides all that, as a lot of the people chitter chatter in the chat, some of the other awesome news happened this week, too, in regards to Nintendo Direct. Now, I was talking about this a few weeks ago from a lot of people I trusted sources that have been right about a lot of information. People saying that in this Nintendo Direct, we are going to get HD remasters of Wind Waker. HD remasters of what else hasn't been out yet? Wind Waker and any other Zelda game that hasn't been re-released on the Switch. Would that be Twilight Princess as well? Probably, right? That hasn't happened yet. And frankly, the people that have suggested this was to happen are quite confused, but they're not doubting that it still won't happen, potentially sometime in the spring. Obviously, the Nintendo Direct focused on a lot of other great news as well. Metroid Prime. Metroid Prime is something that was also supposed to be rumored, a Metroid Prime trilogy. That wasn't announced. Now, there was some back and forth by some of these people, specifically Jeff Grubb of Game Mess and Giant Bomb, saying that, perhaps they didn't want to say anything about the Metroid Prime remakes, considering that they still don't have any real news to announce on Metroid Prime 4 and the, trouble Metroid Prime 4 has had from a development perspective, changing development studios about a couple years in after they announced it and so forth. I don't know. I still think they could have announced Metroid Prime 1 and 2 remakes, even 1, 2, and 3 remakes, but we will see what they might be waiting on. The fact of the matter is the Nintendo Switch is going to shatter all kinds of records, and Nintendo's brought so many games over to the Switch already. I doubt you're going to see any of these games from their legacy catalog left behind. I'm curious what you all think as well. I think Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3 would bring a lot of revitalization to that game, would pick up sales in Metroid Dread, and surely would stoke the interest for a new Metroid Prime 4 as well. Someone needs TP. Oh, all right. So some of the great news that I'm excited about. GoldenEye. Who here in the chat, who here on the channel, leave the comments below, played way too much GoldenEye as a kid. Let me caveat that. Played just the right amount of GoldenEye. So yeah, GoldenEye is making a return to both the Nintendo Switch and the Xbox for Xbox Game Pass. Now, here's the crazy news. About a year ago, there was rumors of an HD remaster or HD revamping of GoldenEye for Xbox that kept coming and going. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? And then suddenly it just seemed like the project died. But it's now coming back to the Xbox with those HD remastered assets. Here's the crazy thing, though. The Xbox version is not going to have online gameplay, while the Nintendo Switch version is going to have online gameplay. The Switch version is going to be the OG N64 game. It's going to be on the N64 Virtual Console on Nintendo Switch Online, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I think, there was some chatter in my Discord of whether or not it was never meant to be an online game or not. If online existed at the time, not only would it have been an online game, but it would have been an even bigger sensation than it was. It's just a fact of the matter of a technological limitation. I'm excited. Who's going to play some GoldenEye with me? I'm going to play a ton of GoldenEye. I'm going to try to get my cousins to play it. They have not played any games since then, but maybe they'll remember. They are revamping controls, supposedly. And I am curious about the Xbox version, specifically playing those classic levels, carrier, all that stuff in the HD revisioned approach. But no, either way, I'm stoked. I mean, you guys probably saw the channel on YouTube. I was very excited. I was expecting Metroid Prime at that point, but it was GoldenEye, and I can't wait. So, all that aside, a lot of other games announced for Nintendo Switch N64 Online on the Nintendo Switch Online service, specifically 1080 Snowboarding. Game I played a good bit of, but I like Snow Kids more. Bring me Snow Kids, Nintendo. Bring me Snow Kids. Please bring me Snow Kids. Excite Bike 64. Mario Party 1, 2, and 3. And Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2. Now, all those are exciting for a lot of people. Pokemon Stadium is a real interesting choice because while those games are going to be playable, they will only be playable with what is on the game already. You can't bring any Pokemon to that version of the game. So, I mean, people were wondering that, but they did have a clear warning at the beginning. You can't transfer anything here. So, yeah. So, pretty cool announcements. It looks like Mario Party 1, 2, and 3 are going to come out like sequentially. But, you know, I can't play Mario Party. Everyone here knows this. I play Mario Party with my wife. If she beats me, I get angry. Next thing you know, there's spaghetti all over the place. It's never a good time. Some other big announcements. Shigeru Miyamoto made an appearance. I was about to freak. I thought, oh, look, here we go. HD remasters, Breath of the Wild 2. Let's do it. Let's do it. What did we get? We get Pikmin. We get Pikmin 4. And they talked about that Pikmin mobile game as well. That game's already been out from what I understand. That game seems interesting because you don't actually have to have your phone out and the application open to interact with the game. It just kind of takes your exercise data and uses that in the game, which is really cool. I appreciate Nintendo focusing on a philosophy where we say, hey, we want your real-world experience to have an experience in this game, but we don't want the game to take away from reality itself. That's awesome. Yeah, Pikmin Blue. Pikmin Blue. I think that ideal and that philosophy is always what makes Nintendo a great design company. Whether or not the game is successful or not, that concept, one way or the other, is going to carry over and be a concept you see in other games that will make them successful. They care about it. Now, Pikmin 4. Pikmin 4 looks really interesting. I'll be honest, chat. I've never played a Pikmin game. Excuse me, I'm calling out Pikmin. It's Pikmin. Come on. I have Pikmin 3 Deluxe Edition. I've heard that game's great. Not played it, and I'm thinking about finally diving into Pikmin 3. I might do a series on the YouTube channel of just a let's play of that game. But people are real excited for Pikmin 4. I think the game's been rumored. They have a new t-shirt for it. It's going to come out in a year or so, I believe. The game's going to sell well. I'm not going to be surprised if it sets some type of record compared to the last 3 entries into the series. But either way, very exciting stuff for those that are fan. Anyone in the chat here, fans of Pikmin? I know K-Max is. Other big news, Octopath Traveler 2 announced. Now, it does seem like it comes with that awesome same style of graphic design, but something about it did seem different too. Like there was something extra special about it. It had a nice shine to it. The game seems slightly more interesting to me than the first one. It's also coming out on PC and Steam. I'm not sure if it's going to come out on any other game systems. I imagine it might, but you could already pre-order it in Steam. In fact, I'm already getting advertisements to pre-order in Steam. Steam wants my money. They take my money all the time. Anyway, so that was an exciting announcement coming out from the Switch Nintendo Direct. Another cool things they announced, another trailer for Final Fantasy Crisis Core. So this is the prequel to Final Fantasy VII, which has Zack in it. And Zack, I've played Final Fantasy VII enough to know there was some Zack guy. But I heard a lot of good things. I think this game had an impact on Kingdom Hearts, Birth by Sleep Design, or vice versa. But it was originally a PSP game, making a return. I'm excited for it. Now, I did see some hoopla today that's saying, hey, it's going to be more of a faithful remake than you think, for better or for worse. And I think it might be for better, so we'll see. But, it is what it is. I'm excited for that game. That game's also going to be out on PlayStation as well, and I'm sure PC at some point. I think PC's already been announced. Bayonetta 3. Nothing really new there. This time, you're fighting biological weapons created by humans. Very much... it's Platinum. They make some of the best character action games out there. Excited for people that are excited for that game. I probably won't play it myself at this point, but I have a friend here in the chat who will, and if they tell me to play it, maybe I'll play it. I don't know. Again, I already mentioned the disappointment with the lack of announcement around Metroid Prime and HD remasters, but the big news coming out of the Nintendo Direct, the huge news coming out of the Nintendo Direct, May 13th, 2023. I am taking off work. I'm already going to put my request in. I'm just going to put that invite on the calendar and say, boom, I ain't here for like at least 4 days. It's going to be a weekend, so it's going to work out. Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, Tears of the Kingdom. I'm excited for this game. Not only going to be exploring all of the wonderful world of Hyrule, but you'll also be exploring the sky above. Now, Nintendo kept saying, once we announce the title of the game, you're going to know that, the title of the game is really, really important. You're gonna know right away. And I'm like, all I saw in that trailer was there was like 7, it looked like sages, but I guess they're teardrops around the Ganon hieroglyphic. I think, that's cool. There is some more news too. Additional characters, Pauline and Diddy Kong coming to Mario Strikers. Haven't really played much of those games quite yet, but people that are fans of those games should be excited. They got some new content, but it's Zelda, baby. I was so excited for this. Breath of the Wild, for those, if there's anyone here in the chat who's not played Breath of the Wild, they need to. They need to. In fact, K-Max will buy the game for everyone if they just ask him politely. He'll even buy a Nintendo Switch, all right? He will. Okay, so that's Nintendo Direct. A lot of exciting things coming out of Nintendo Direct. The other two other big gaming news events happening this past week. One kind of still going, one kind of wrapping up. But Sony State of Play. Now, Sony State of Play happened the same day as the Nintendo Direct, and frankly, I thought was rather disappointing compared to the Nintendo Direct, even though the Direct had its weak spots. One more thing about the Direct. One more thing, sorry. But how many farming games are we going to get? My gosh. My gosh. It's like, wow, people really want to get back to the way we were meant to be and all own small farms? No. But there's something about that genre that's really taking off. Harvestella is the game I'm most excited for. There's obviously that new, it's not Harvest Moon. It's the original makers of Harvest Moon. Gosh darn it, my brain is fogging up right now. But there's a game coming out from that series. There's also a weird type of fairy falafels. I don't know. Something slightly different, but also very much the same as all the other farming games. But yeah, Direct had a lot of those. But yeah, Sony State of Play. There was 3 games that really stuck out at me. There was a handful of games that looked good, I would say. A lot of games kind of blended together. But I will tell you this. God of War Ragnarok looks amazing. Now, God of War alone is enough to sell PlayStation. People that don't play any games anymore will see a God of War trailer and they'll go, I want to play that game. I want to play that game. Now, God of War Ragnarok, that was a great trailer. Is it enough to buy you for? Is it enough for you to want to get a PlayStation 5? Chat, I don't know what you guys think. Again, let me know your thoughts. I would say at this point, if the PlayStation 5 wasn't $650, maybe. But if they come out soon and announce that God of War Ragnarok will also be available for your PlayStation, for your PC at some point, then I probably still won't want to go down that route. As much as the PS5 has a game like that, it won't do it. Now, another game that's coming out called Ishin Like a Dragon. This is a game that's, I don't know a whole lot about it, but what I understand, it's made by the same people that have brought you Yakuza and Judgment and Lost Judgment. It's Ishin Like a Dragon. So Yakuza 7 was called Yakuza Like a Dragon. And they're taking that same title, and it seems to be an eclectic mix of classic characters from the Yakuza series, set more in this 1800s time setting. A very similar story, not similar story, but very similar setting and environment and gameplay, just not in modern day Japan. I'm excited for that. People are really excited for that. It's a game series that I guess hasn't been ported over before. But it looks interesting. Someone in the chat asking, did Sid Meier's announce a Civ 7? Not that I've seen. But, there's probably still hope. If you like those types of games, they've never been for me. Another great game that looks like it interests me enough to want to get a PlayStation, but who knows if I will, especially if it comes to a PC, is Ronin. Ronin looks like an open world samurai. Just, I really don't know how to describe it. I think it's made by Koei Tecmo, so some of the same people that have brought us like the Dynasty games. By the way, it looks fantastic. I will tell you this. If it doesn't come to PC, I'd consider getting a PlayStation for it. Someone in the chat, when we were watching the real code at Red Dead Ninja or Red Dead Samurai, I mean, it had a very realistic feel. The time setting it's in was whenever there was a lot of Western influence into Japan, which is, 1700s onward. So I would guess somewhere between the 1780s and the 1800s, That seems interesting. But either way, I would say that's kind of the highlights of the Sony State of Play. There's a lot of games that, again, kind of blended together to me. They interested me, but, nothing really to make me scream and shout. Now, additional news, Tokyo Game Show. A lot of things coming out of the Tokyo Game Show. Some really interesting, some meh. Let's start off with Capcom. So I know a lot of people are excited about this, and by a lot of people, I know one person, but Mega Man Battle Network Collection coming out. They have announced that online gameplay will exist, which is exciting news for people who love those components of those games. Coming out sometime within the next year. I'll probably pick them up because, you know, I've never played them. I like Mega Man, but I like cool Mega Man, not the Mega Man that was like a tactical RPG. Just didn't really speak to me. But maybe I'm more mature now, and my taste is, you know, I like red wine. Maybe I like Battle Network now. Who the heck knows? Other big news, Resident Evil had a lot of announcements. So Resident Evil is going to get a lot of cloud ports to the Nintendo Switch. That doesn't really do anything for me, but I do know in Japan, cloud gaming is bigger, especially with the 5G infrastructure. It's a lot more popular to do cloud gaming anywhere where 5G infrastructure is abundant, and Japan's got that. So it's going to reach a lot more people on the Nintendo Switch there. They also announced a Resident Evil 8 Gold Edition, which among bringing some more content to the game itself, they're adding a third-person camera view, which I find really interesting. I don't know anyone who's played 8 and thought, you know, this game would be better in third person, but they're doing that, which, you know, okay, sure, that's something to do if you want. And then another aspect of it, Resident Evil 4, they had an update. Resident Evil 4 was announced a few months ago now, a remake of Resident Evil 4 in the works. Something that they're doing that does not surprise me one bit is bringing it to the PlayStation 4. Now, they're not going to bring it probably to the Xbox One because they're not having as much of a hard time of getting new Xboxes out, but PlayStation 4 is still a very popular console, still has a large percentage of the market share in most of the world, and if they can make that game run on a PS4, baby, you bet they will. So, doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me one bit. No new announcements around Resident Evil 9 or anything like that. There's all kinds of rumors if you Google it or search it on YouTube, but nothing official coming from the Capcom portion. So, you know, there you have it. Xbox was there. They had some interesting announcements about games coming to Game Pass. The thing that is important to me about Xbox having a presence at the Tokyo Game Show shows that Microsoft is finally having success with understanding these markets and getting a little bit more penetration in those markets. I think they started to have that with the Xbox One. 360, they struggled relatively overall. I think the PS3 was still a lot better than the 360 in Japan. But Microsoft knows they need to have more JRPGs, games that are more popular to be on that Xbox. And frankly, when I shared the last Game Bites episode, we looked over the last week of August sales of consoles, the Xbox was just behind the PS5 in sales overall, which was impressive for a Microsoft platform. So that's cool that they have some presence there. Let them do cool games coming to Game Pass this week for people to check out if you have Game Pass. I definitely recommend it. Konami had a quick announcement. Nothing, you know, I wanted a new Castlevania. Is all this talk that Konami's finally getting its stuff together? Listen, Konami has its stuff together. They're making buckets of money in the gambling space, whatever they're doing, pachinko or, you know, whatever, you know, slot machines. They don't need to invest heavily in their IPs. They own these IPs. They're sitting there. They're going to use those IPs on all kinds of other gaming conventions, but not video games per se. That being said, they did announce remakes of Suikoden 1 and 2. I'm not sure if I'm announcing that. Classic RPGs from the PlayStation era. They look really cool. I remember seeing them as a kid. I don't know, chat. Did you guys ever play these games? Are you familiar with them? A lot of times, people seem to be really excited about it, and it seems to have been the most exciting thing they've confirmed out of the rumors of what Konami was going to bring to the market. Now, I will say this. Out of those rumors, there have been all kind of kerfuffle about a Silent Hill 2 remake, along with multiple new Silent Hill games in the works. I haven't seen anything about that yet, and it seems like people were disappointed Konami did not confirm anything of that nature. There's also been discussion about doing Metal Gear Solid remakes, which would honestly excite me quite a bit. Metal Gear Solid remakes, those would do really well, especially after you know, the loss it is of the creator to that team, Kojima. I think if they were able to remake and remaster those games in a way that, you know, brought some quality of life improvements, changed certain aspects of the game to make it feel more fresh, but still immerse you in those original stories, people would enjoy them quite a bit. But yeah, none of that was announced, and so people were mad at Konami. So get your tomatoes out and throw them, everyone. Have a good time. Should be fun. Yeah, so that's Tokyo Game Show. One thing I want to announce, kind of separate from this, Splatoon 3. I don't know, chat. Is anyone here playing Splatoon 3? Splatoon 3 shattered records, okay? Splatoon 3 is now the fastest selling video game in Japan history out of any game on any console ever. So within its first, I want to say 2 or 3 days, it shipped 3.43 million units. That's roughly 2% or more of the entire population of Japan. Just went and got Splatoon 3. That's physical and digital. I think the record was previously held by Animal Crossing New Horizon, which is kind of crazy to think that Animal Crossing, which is a game that probably appeals to a lot more people, also had the comfort of coming out during the peak of COVID, and that was that April timeframe of 2021 or 2020. And people had nothing to do but play video games. Gaming freaking boomed at that point. Everyone and their mother got on Twitch. That being said, this game completely blew it out of the water. And so it's still moving fast, very fast. Copies are going off the shelves. I don't know. They've also announced that they're having the first Splatfest, which I think is funny, that the competition is between gear, food, or fun. Come on, guys. If you're stuck on an island, are you going to bring gear? Are you going to bring food? Or are you going to bring something to play with? Like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just how my brain's hardwired, but I'm going to bring gear. Because if I bring gear, I can get food, and I can make something to play with. So, but that's happening. That's happening. Pick who you need to pick and go with it, I guess. What else? What else has happened? Oh, last but not least, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. They had their Call of Duty Next event. Showed a lot of changes coming to the... Gosh, something stuck in my throat. Coming to the Call of Duty Battle Royale. And one of the things that I found interesting was how they're handling circles. So storm circles in this game compared to Fortnite and compared to all other Battle Royales in the past. As the game, condenses and gets smaller and smaller and tighter, there will be 3 circles that form on the map. You'll get stuck in one of those 3 circles if you're still alive. You'll kind of duke it out between the remaining players in those small circles. But then as those players dwindle, those 3 circles will then condense and form one mega micro circle. And then the last battle will happen, which I thought was interesting because you could get stuck in the circle between like 8 to 10 players and have to duke it out. And it kind of forces you to duke it out quicker, but then it still brings you together too and coalesces into another circle. Very simple game mechanic change, but one that would probably, I'll say it here first. I won't be surprised if Fortnite copies this at some point soon, right? They've copied a lot of other stuff. That's what makes them a successful game company, is how quickly they develop improvements to the game. But I won't, if people enjoy this innovation that COD's doing, I won't be surprised. Call of Duty 2 coming out on all consoles, Modern Warfare 2, all consoles. I want to say October 28th. The interesting thing here is that for the last few years, Activision's kind of kept their Call of Duty games since like 2015 or so on the Blizzard Battle.net Steam launcher, but you can get the new Call of Duty on Steam. And I think that says something about them realizing, it will probably be more successful that way. But also, things are probably going to shift up once Microsoft becomes, Big Daddy and owns them, right? So you can get that on Steam. You can get that on Battle.net as well, and every other console. You can pre-order it there. But then, the new update 2.0 to the Battle Royale for Call of Duty comes out in November 6th or 7th, some point in early November, I want to say. So the new game will come out, but then the changes to the Battle Royale will come out, Warzone, shortly after that in the following month. It's exciting. Yeah, it's interesting to me. It is got like a slight bit of a tournament flair, as someone in the chat said. P-Tony, Peter, PTonyProductions.com/P-Tony/ the greatest dating show ever on the internet. It's people. Yeah, people love the game. I think the game's going to continue to be popular alongside other games like PUBG and Fortnite. But I mean, honestly, I love the Modern Warfare remake. I'm excited for this game too, just from a campaign perspective as well. So that's it. And then transitioning from Call of Duty, the battle continues with regulation investigation in the UK. I think there's another round of investigation happening in UK, like not like additional, like, oh, something happened, we got to do more, like the next step type of round. PlayStation's still basically making the point that Call of Duty is critical to the Sony business, and it's going to have a huge impact, which I've heard counterpoints again from Jeff Grubb at Game Mess saying, well, if it's so critical, how is Nintendo able to be successful? Nintendo's been extremely successful by not having any Call of Duty on their platform. So, I mean, obviously Nintendo's curated a different type of market, a different type of audience. but an audience that has crossover with PlayStation and Xbox ownership too. So I don't know. I wonder, and this is speculation I've heard that I want to share with everyone, but like, what's the point Sony might have for doing this type of argument, right? Because quite frankly, I don't think they have a winning argument. Whether or not we agree or disagree with the letter of the law at the moment, it seems like it's going to happen. And Microsoft's been rather generous, it seems, to say, hey, we'll continue putting this game out there. But now Sony's in this point where they're either digging themselves into a hole, or if they do get more concessions out of it than, originally thought, maybe they get a greater, grip of some type of participation in Call of Duty franchise moving forward while Microsoft still owns it. But I mean, if Microsoft gets bruised and battled from this and they end up winning in the long run, what's stopping them from now saying, you know what? Screw it. We're going to just keep it on all Xbox and PC consoles. I mean, reality is Microsoft's not going to do that, in my opinion, because they'll sell more if they have it on the PlayStation. Maybe it's not significantly more, but all those microtransactions they'll get a cut of as well. So it just doesn't seem, I'm just curious in the strategy of Jim Ryan, CEO of PlayStation right now. This battle's happening in the UK. He's from the UK, so he feels like he's probably on his home turf right now. But it's an interesting choice because, frankly, when I think PlayStation, I don't think Call of Duty. I think God of War. I think all their great IPs. But, it is what it is. Shooters typically are more of a Western audience thing. Microsoft is a Western Genesis-based system. So here we are. But that's it. That's the game news. Just other fun things I want to share with you. Games I've been playing of late. Alan Wake Remastered. That's an amazing game. It's an amazing game. I am not a big fan of horror-based games, but that is an amazing game. The storytelling in that game, the immersion, everything about it, fantastic. Fallout 76 has a new expansion on it called The Pit, based in Pittsburgh, chat. I might give it a try. I'm looking into it. It's currently in and out of my cart as I question my decision-making abilities, but I'm excited about that. I don't know if anyone else has played Fallout. Still playing Fortnite, and I'm actually going to give Warfare a try with some Call of Duty action. Might do it tonight with Cajun Raging Gamer, the chat. Eugene makes G Fuel. But that's really it. There's nothing new. The